Jeremy Corbyn was elected on the 12th of September with a massive mandate. The biggest mandate inside the Labour Party, I think, in all time. And his policies and his ideas are the majority ideas inside the Labour Party. Now, those members of Parliament who have not been happy with this have been operating as if they are an independent party inside the Labour Party, consciously and actively sabotaging every single political position and action that Jeremy Corbyn has done since he was elected.
Why did Hillary Benn say that? Surely, evidence on the referendum, Labour couldn't get its vote.
Labour got 2/3 of its voters to vote for the position that, for the position that Jeremy Corbyn advocated. There were other MPs who supported leaving the EU. Gisela Stewart, for example. Well, no, because it was accepted that people could have an independent stance on the question.
This is the man who said...
Take, for example, one second, James, one second. Hillary Benn was allowed, as a frontbencher, to take a different position on Syria to that taken by Jeremy Corbyn. And so members of Parliament also allowed, well, you could have sacked him from the cabinet. Probably should have sacked him from the cabinet. And other MPs have been allowed to take a position in support of Brexit. I didn't agree. I agreed with the position that Jeremy Corbyn took, that it was better to be inside the European Union and to fight for change, rather than to leave the European Union. But what they're trying to pretend is that Jeremy Corbyn should be a puppet to the right wing, a puppet to the establishment, and he should parrot what they want to hear, rather than what he thinks. That, I believe, is completely out of the question. During the Brexit campaign, and the result of that campaign was decided by this. People feared that there was too much immigration. Too much immigration. Nigel Farage put up posters showing Syrian refugees entering Europe and arguing that an unstoppable tide of immigration is swamping Britain. That was the argument being put. That's what won the vote. Second, I'll come back to other questions in a minute. There are other issues, but I believe that was determined. Fact of the matter is, there is no and has been no immigration crisis.
Bollocks! If you look at the number who've come in, this is the kind of classic bullshit.
Okay.
It's not true.
Bollocks is it? Bollocks is it?
No,
let me give you the statistics. In the 60 years, from 1900 to 1960, the population rose faster than in the last 60 years. So what a lot of rubbish is being talked about immigration. Add to that, in the first 60 years of the 20th century, there were 2 world wars. And millions of people were killed in those wars. In other words, the population increase in Britain from 1900 to 1960 was far larger than that from 1960 to today. So don't come lying to me about immigration. It is a blatant, absolute and complete lie.
And the working class believes it, which means that you believe everyone's false. They shouldn't have these ideas.
Oh, shut up.
Oh, listen, you bullet birth control. If only you be a condom, you'll never like to sell these. Right.
The fact that many workers voted to leave the European Union is indicative of the fact that the case to explain socialist ideas, which myself and Jeremy Corbyn support, has not been put adequately, not because of Jeremy Corbyn, but because of sabotage by the right wing in the Labour Party. And those same traitors are now trying to oust Jeremy Corbyn on Monday. And when they do it,
they will.
What are they doing? When they call a vote of confidence on Monday, what's the purpose behind it?
to get the Labour Party.
These heroes like Hillary Benn, these heroes like Margaret Hodge, what is their demand on Monday?
To make
a secret ballot.
Yes.
Why do they want a secret ballot?
I'll tell you why.
There they are, 200 MPs. They don't like Jeremy Corbyn. Why do they need to be secret?
Because they can't.
Because the Labour Party is not 200 members of Parliament. The Labour Party is nearly 500,000 members. And those 500,000 members will stand by Jeremy Corbyn.
Yes.
And those 500,000 members will get into the party, get active in the party, and remove the traitors from the party. That is our task as a Labour movement.
He may not even
to make the workers' representatives genuine representatives of the workers, not career-seeking Blairites, so after stuffing their pockets and robbing the public purse, as many of these people have done for the last 20 years inside the Labour Party. For that reason, we must demand that every MP who votes on Monday declares the way they voted. Did they vote to keep Jeremy Corbyn or they vote to remove Jeremy Corbyn? And those who voted to remove should themselves be removed by party members in every constituency in the country.
Yes.
We are facing a full-scale political coup d'etat organised by the mass media, by the establishment and by the Labour right wing to remove the individual with the biggest popular mandate inside the country in the Labour movement that has ever existed. And surely, if big business and their allies are able to seize control of the Labour Party from the members of the party, then there is no democracy in this country. Because if the parties you vote for are entirely rigged by big business, you have no political representation. There have been systematic academic studies of how the media have treated Jeremy Corbyn since he was elected.
By who?
The very day he was elected, Chuka Uma comes on television and he says, this man's unelectable. He's just been elected, he's unelectable. Then they said, oh, wait till the May elections. In the May elections, Labour will collapse. Then we can remove him. Labour didn't collapse. Our vote didn't collapse. And by the way, where that Tory's gone a minute ago, very simple point. If there is an election called in the autumn or the winter, the Labour Party can win that election, despite the Brexit vote. And I tell you this, we want to have candidates in that election who stand by the policies that the membership support. That means public ownership, and I believe the public ownership should be much wider than what we proposed so far. Public ownership of the banks, public ownership of the largest industries, public ownership of the insurance industry, public ownership of the transportation, to make the economy serve the needs of the people, not the needs of a handful of billionaires, or a handful of companies, or a handful of media magnates financed by billionaires, or media outlets financed by billionaires. That is the reality of Britain today.
Have you got policy on that?
The truth of the matter is, we've only had one conference of the Labour Party since Jeremy Corbyn was elected. It was only a few days after he was elected. At the present conference and at the next conference, we will be moving radical changes to the policies of the Labour Party. To do that, we need to democratise the party. People seem to think the party's democratic. It's not democratic. The party was turned into a machine of Tony Blair. So he could fight wars, murder people, rendition people, plunder the society, and then become a peacemaker in the Middle East. I believe that after the Chilcot report comes out, there may well be a very good case for putting Tony Blair on trial. And as some people know, and Jack Straw for renditioning people illegally and torturing them. in the Middle East and in Eastern Europe. These are crimes against humanity and crimes against justice. Eric here has said that the argument's been given the last few days, as if it was true, that Labour Party supporters in the north of England or in Wales or in Scotland no longer believe the Labour Party represents them. The Labour Party has moved away from them, that's the argument they say, moved away from them, and people like Ed Miliband, Chuka Umar and co, they have all started saying, all right, so because these people no longer feel we're representing them, what we need to do is to pander to the worst aspects of the susceptibility of those people to arguments against immigration or foreigners and so on, which is why the Brexit vote happened. I do not believe that is the way you win people over. If and when the Labour Party stands by principles, stands by the rights of the workers, and explains to the workers how improvements in their lives can only stem by tackling the might and power of private enterprise. Once we get that accepted, that the private sector big companies are responsible for the economic crisis in Britain, and that's why people vote against immigration, is because of economic crisis. When the economy shrinks, people are told the black man next door stole your job, or the Polish person next door stole your job and your girlfriend. And therefore, only by explaining the economic logic and rationality and counterposing that to the irrationality and myth of nation and immigration, only when we counter those things with rationality, with logic, and with a membership enthused by understanding that we are standing for fundamental and complete change in society for the benefit of the majority of the population. Brexit will not bring any improvement to the lives of the workers of Britain. Nothing. Not only that, but having voted for Brexit, people woke up the next morning. First, some of them were cheering. Yes, we got our country back. We got control. Take control. Take control, they said. Take control. What happened after that? It was quite clear, as soon as the vote was cast, that Britain is going to break up. The so-called victory means an immediate defeat. Not only Scotland will break away, but it may well be the case that Northern Ireland will join Southern Ireland. In which case, remember they said take control, stop terrorism. Actually, in Ireland, terrorism will restart. If that vote takes place, and either side wins with a close minority or majority, there will be a return to the armed struggle. And if Scotland breaks away, how will Nigel Farage react? And Boris Johnson? Will they simply sit back and say, yes, Scotland can leave? After all, they can turn around and say, there was a referendum to stay. 55-45. Now, if they tried to call a new referendum without the support of the rest of Parliament, that would be an independent declaration. Parliament's not going to support a new referendum. If Boris Johnson and Nigel Farage are in the government and the Scottish declare independence, what do you think they'll do? Sit back and take it? Talk to anyone who's got European family here. Talk to anyone who's got immigrant family here, like I have. And I tell you this, everybody who is not a British citizen is now living in fear. No. That's the reality. They are. You're a millionaire, my friend. It's a different story. Most people from Europe do not have much money. They come here because they have no money, like you did once upon a time. You're a poor man that made good. Good for you. The issue is now. How do people feel now? about this. If you're Polish, you're Romanian, you're Bulgarian, you feel unsafe and you feel threatened. That's the truth of the matter. Anybody doesn't know that is simply blind. Simply blind. Although it's the Bulgarians, the Romanians and the Albanians and so on who are now in fear, the truth of the matter is it's quite difficult to spot one. But it's easy to spot a black man. Exactly. Right? On the day of the election results, they came out there, they shouted out, "Polls out, and you lot as well," because she's black. And you lot as well. So, do not for a minute think that this is a neutral vote. It's not a neutral vote. There is a massive swing to the right as a result of the economic crisis. Unless we are able to explain an alternative to the economic system we live under, where we have cheap rent. And by the way, that wasn't a discussion. In Germany you have cheap rent. In France you have cheap rent. In Spain you have cheap rent. In England, no such thing.
The free market.
The average person in London renting a one-room studio in Peckham pays £280 a week. £280 a week for a studio the size of a bed. We live in a country of landlords and parasites. Landlords and parasites. They talk about, oh, we can't have immigration. No immigration. But you've got free movement of capital. In the City of London, 15% of the British economy is supposedly the City of London. 400 banks from every corner of the world laundering criminal money by the billions every day. Now, does that mean that every worker in the City of London is a criminal? No. No. Does that mean every worker in the City of London is a bad person? No.
Yes. I mean, no.
Does that mean that most of the workers in the City of London are doing useless activities that have no benefit for the population? Yes, yes, yes. You're going to have an open border, you're going to have a barbed wire.
Barbed wire,
if you haven't got a barbed wire, how are you going to control the border? Everyone will go to Scotland, or the European Union citizens can go to Scotland and then enter Britain, enter England.
Yes.
How are you going to control immigration there? Now, England and Wales doesn't sound quite so sexy, the United Kingdom of England and Wales. The problem is, the economy is driven by profit. The largest company is dominating the economy. There are 150 companies that control the British economy. There are 5 million companies in Britain, 150 control the economy. They own 70% of the shares in this country. Those companies are controlled by perhaps 5,000 people. 5,000, maybe 10,000 people. When they say, take our country back, what do they mean? Our country does not belong to us. Our country, 47% of the territory of this country belongs to 6,000 families. 6,000. All that area there, up until Oxford Street, belongs to the Duke of Westminster. All the area over there, up until Baker Street, belongs to the Portman family, Lord and Lady Portman. But it's our country, is it? Our country. We don't own our country. So if you want us to take control of our country, then we must expropriate those who have taken control. And they didn't take it yesterday. They didn't get it by hard work. They didn't get it by graft. It's Lord and Lady Portman. It's the Duke of Westminster. It's the Duchess of Cambridge. It's the Prince of Wales, right? They own the land.